Welcome in, everybody. It's great to have you joining us for another deep dive. And today we're really excited because we're going to be taking a look at a huge Serie A matchup. Napoli versus AC Milan
Yeah.
at the Stadio Maradona.
The San Paolo, as I still like to think of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Always a great atmosphere.
And of course, here at Tips Moto, we've been looking at all the different angles at the recent form of both teams and trying to project forward into the potential lineups and what that might tell us about how things are going to go this weekend.
Absolutely. And I think what makes this one so fascinating is that there's so much at stake for both of these sides right now.
Yeah.
They both really need a result for very different reasons.
Yeah, okay. So let's maybe start with Napoli just to sort of lay out the landscape here. Their current situation, and, I'm looking at their form, and I'm a little puzzled, right? Only one win in their last 7 matches.
Yeah.
That recent draw against Venezia has them sitting 3 points behind Inter with only 9 games left to go. Like, that's getting down to the wire here.
Crunch time.
And you have to wonder, what's going on there?
Well, I think we have to kind of remember that, their ambition is still very much there. They think they can get that second Scudetto in 3 years.
Yeah.
So... And I think, when we look at their form draw, lost win draw, they are capable of getting those points, but the consistency just hasn't been there for them recently.
Yeah.
Maybe they've been found out a little bit tactically by a few sides recently, but yeah, I think
that's a good point.
It's going to be interesting to see how they respond.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we at Tips Moto remember very well that earlier encounter this season, when they played AC Milan, a 2-0 away win at the San Siro back in October.
Right.
That was a big win.
Big win.
For them. Romelu Lukaku played a key role in that game, but of course now the dynamic is very different with Kvicek, Kvaratskhelia unavailable.
Yeah.
Do you think that previous victory still holds much weight, like heading into this game?
I think it gives them a psychological edge for sure.
Yeah.
They know they can beat Milan.
Right.
But I think, as you say, that the absence of Kvaratskhelia is massive.
Right.
They're going to have to find different ways to get those goals.
Yeah.
And I think, for them, avoiding slip-ups at home is going to be absolutely crucial if they want to win that Scudetto. Every point dropped at this stage is a huge blow for them.
Right. Every point counts.
Yeah.
It's so tight right now at the top of the table.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so let's turn our attention to AC Milan. Their recent form. I mean, this is kind of a different story. They're coming into this match on the back of 2 consecutive comebacks.
Right.
And an unbeaten run of 6 games at the Stadio Maradona across all competitions, which is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, that's testament to their resilience, I think.
It really is.
That 2-1 win over Como a couple of weeks ago, goals from Reinders and Pulisic. They fought back to win that one.
Right.
Same against Lecce the week before that.
Right.
They just seem to have that never say die attitude at the moment. And I think that unbeaten run at the Maradona really stands out. It shows that they're not afraid of going there in Naples and playing their game.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this stat that our team here at Tismoto has been looking at, teams with 47 or fewer points at this stage of the season really struggle to break into the top 4.
They do.
So, I mean, given where Milan is sitting right now, those consecutive wins take on even more importance.
Huge.
Right? They haven't managed back-to-back league wins since September.
Wow.
Think about that. So
really emphasizes how important this game is.
I mean, it really does.
If they can go to Naples and get another win, it would be a massive statement, and it would really put them in a strong position to challenge for that Champions League spot.
Yeah.
Their recent Serie A form, win, loss, 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 win, win, shows they're starting to find some rhythm again. And, even if you look across all competitions, it's a similar story: draw, loss, 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 win, win. So yeah, that upward trend is definitely something that Napoli need to be wary of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about team news. Starting with Napoli again.
Yeah.
It looks like their coach Conte, he's probably going to stick with that 3-5-2 formation.
Yeah.
Which of course is, largely due to Kvicek, Kvaratskhelia continued absence.
Of course.
David Neres is fit again, but we're not expecting a system change here at Tips Moto just yet. I mean, it seems like he knows what he wants.
Absolutely. He's got a system. He trusts it.
Yeah.
I think the likely partnership up front of Raspadori and Lukaku is going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
They offer something a bit different.
Yeah.
You've got that pace and trickery of Raspadori,
right.
and then the power and the physicality of Lukaku.
Right.
So, different ways to hurt teams.
Yeah, for sure. Now, in midfield, we do have a bit of a question mark over Frank Anguissa's fit.
Right.
He may not be fully recovered.
He's not fit.
And if he's not, our analysts here at Tips Moto are thinking that we might see Billy Gilmore come into that starting 11 alongside Stanislav Lobotka and Scott McTominay.
I mean, that would certainly change the dynamic of that midfield a bit, wouldn't it?
It really would.
Gilmore's got a different style to Anguissa. I think he's more of a distributor, more of a controller.
Right.
So I think that battle in midfield is going to be crucial.
Yeah.
Whoever can get a grip of that midfield,
right,
is going to really dictate the flow of the game.
Okay, so based on what we're seeing here at Tips Moto, a possible Napoli starting lineup could look like this.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so we've got Merritt in goal, Di Lorenzo, Romani, and Buongiorno in that back three, Politano and Oliveira as the wing backs, and then in midfield, if Anguissa's fit, likely it'll be him alongside Lobotka and McTominay. If not, then we think Gilmore slots in.
Right.
And then leading the attack, we're thinking Raspadori and Lukaku up front.
Sounds about right.
Okay, so
interesting lineup.
Yeah, so turning our attention to AC Milan, the injury situation for them seems to be easing a bit, which is good news for them. Emerson Royal is still unavailable, though.
Right.
And they've also got Yunus Musa suspended for this one.
Yep.
Which is, another kind of blow to that midfield.
It's going to give their manager, Conchacao, something to think about, isn't it?
Absolutely.
In terms of how they set up in the middle of the park.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, of course, he's got a big decision to make up front as well.
Yeah.
Who plays as the center forward.
Right.
Jimenez or Abraham.
Yeah.
Two very different players.
Yeah.
Jimenez is all about that movement, getting him behind.
Right.
Whereas Abraham.
That hold-up play.
Yeah. Strong, powerful, good in the air.
Right.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see who he goes with.
Yeah, I mean, either way, they've got some firepower up there.
They do.
And, one player who we at Tips Moto have been so impressed with this season is Christian Pulisic.
He's been outstanding.
Really has. I mean, he's really delivering consistently,
Yeah, he's been a real bright spark for them, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's always a threat with
Yeah.
his pace and his trickery and his ability to score goals.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, Napoli are going to have to keep a close eye on him.
Yeah, for sure. So, based on all of that, our predicted starting 11 for AC Milan looks like this.
Go on, then.
We've got Mignon in goal.
Okay.
Then a back four of Walker, Thiaw, Gabbia, and Hernandez.
Solid.
And then in midfield, we're thinking Bondo and Fofana likely to kind of fill that gap left by Musa's suspension.
Makes sense.
And then we've got that attacking trio of Pulisic, Reinders, and Leao.
Wow.
All supporting either Jimenez or Abraham up front.
That's a lot of attacking talent.
It really is.
Yeah.
A lot for Napoli to think about defensively.
Absolutely.
So, all in all, I mean, this Napoli versus AC Milan game, it's just got all the makings of a really, really fascinating clash. Both teams, they've got so much riding on this.
Yeah.
Napoli obviously pushing for that Scudetto.
Yep.
Milan, fighting for that top four spot.
Every game is a cup final for them now.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, here at Tips Moto, we're anticipating a really tight match in Naples.
I think so, too.
The stakes are high.
It's going to be a battle.
It really is.
A battle of tactics.
Yeah.
Battle of wills.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a really, really interesting game to watch.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Well, we hope, this deep dive here from all of us at Tips Moto has given you a good look.
A valuable perspective.
Yeah, a valuable perspective on this upcoming game. It's going to be a big one.
It is.
So if you're ready to kind of take your betting to the next level,
get that expert edge.
Yeah, head over to www.tipsmoto.co.k today.
That's the place to be.
It is. We've got in-depth analysis, top betting tips, all the stuff you need to really stay ahead of the game.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.
See you later.